So when you're thinking of what you're going to buy next, when you're thinking of what you're going to co-host, when you're thinking of what you're going to manage, when you go bigger, you get bigger results. And that's why we like that, because we're solving a what bigger problem that impacts more people, and people are important, and so are their dogs. Do not sleep. A lot of people eliminate themselves from being available but not being pet friendly, and it crushes them. So I find that fascinating. Number 3, she needed a specific area for her kids' school zones. This is after speaking with her. So keep in mind, I wouldn't even be in touch with her if we didn't have her name, our brand name, and profile. She wouldn't have been able to look us up. She wouldn't have been able to look us up online. She wouldn't have been able to pull up our website. All of our contact information is online on Google, on our website, etc. So you can look us up, and we're easy to find.
Who's this? Oh, you're an entrepreneur? Oh, you're a real estate investor. Oh, you're trying to learn from those who did it. Well, come into the lab then. Put your white coat on, gloves on, notepad, and let's build, y'all.
Most aren't pet friendly, she said. And this is not meant to be a joke. This is a recent inquiry that I received online that I thought would be appropriate to showcase with Experiment Nation, to show you the demand that exists in our marketplace when it comes to temporary housing, and how you can capitalize on continuing to be on the forefront of receiving inquiries and landing lucrative contracts in your marketplace, wherever you are. So it is your host, Ruben Kanya, host of the Real Estate Experiment. Always a pleasure. I thought it would be very fitting for me to record this episode to go through um, the language that is being used, the need in the marketplace, and how you can implement the tips in any marketplace with a particular asset type that I believe serves the best, in order to continue to be able to be on the forefront of serving a problem in the marketplace. Because as entrepreneurs, as real estate investors, it's our job to make sure that our properties stay occupied at the highest profitable amount. So in high profitability, high occupancy, to maximize our rentals. If you're anything like us, right? Or at least that's your calling, or that's kind of your mission, or vehicle that you're using to bring in more profit and build wealth along the way as well. Again, depending on where you're at, or regardless, I should say, where you're at, whether you're a management company, whether you're a co-host, whether you're an Airbnb operator, whether you're a long-term operator, traditional rentals, and you're looking to get more for what you have. Okay. So just the level set, right? So if this is your first time listening to this episode, we specialize in temporary housing, aka the hot term of midterm rentals. And we've also expanded into the vacation rental space as well. So essentially, when the short-term rental space, I believe that any temporary housing is still under the umbrella of short-term rentals. We just happen to operate it in the longer short-term rentals, which in midterm rentals, when you use that word, it's 30 days or more. Now, the avatar that we 30 days plus. Now, the avatar that we typically cater to are either displaced families due to unforeseen events. Could be construction, could be water damage, could be fire, could be anything of that nature. And what's where the opportunity is, when you really do kind of zoom out, is when you think of Airbnb, this is a platform that was created to cater to short-term stays. So when you start thinking about 30 days plus, that wasn't really the intention of the platform. Now, it is still utilized and leveraged for those who are looking for 30 days plus, but it is a little bit of tricky, because traditional investors like 12-month leases, short-term rentals platforms are meant for shorter stays. So there's this gap in the marketplace, almost like this gray area for temporary housing, anywhere from 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, right? And there's so many different reasons why you might need temporary housing, right? Whether you're, I've had folks reach out to us because they're under contract and the home's not going to be ready for a while, or maybe they're coming into town, and they're moving and they're looking to buy a home. And so they need temporary housing and they haven't sold their other home yet. So they have to be relocated for work, perhaps. Or again, unforeseen events is the biggest one that we deal with, where and the one that we actually capitalize on is because when a family is relocated due to unforeseen event, usually their insurance company steps in, especially if it's coming from their primary residence, which means that the insurance company is willing to pay a premium, only not because they want to, but because they have to. And there just simply isn't that many properties available. And it's actually a discount to them compared to what they would pay to stay, to have the family at a hotel. And it's advantageous for the family because they have a home and an experience that is actually more fitting than, or more accommodating than a hotel would, right? They have the backyard, they have the living room, they have the dining room, they have the space that they're used to having. Being in a hotel is nice for a couple days, but when you start doing it for a month or two, starts to be more of an inconvenience rather than a convenience, as a way we would see it when we're traveling, right? So that's the biggest problem that we're in now. What I want to cover in this case study is that these are the type of inquiries that we receive all the time by being optimized, right? And being optimized in my world, in our world, it means making yourself available. Making yourself available means that you're finding ways to make yourself available on platforms in a world where there isn't truly a platform that caters to those in the midterm rental space. If you think of Furnish Finder, that's not an OTA. That's a find out, seek out, reach out to the homeowner if they reply on the availability of the home that you might be looking for. So that is an outlet, but I don't think it's the overall solution. The solution, that's actually a whole nother conversation. That's something we need, that we're currently working on in-house. But the OTA, the short-term rentals, if you think about Airbnb, VRBO, these are vacation typically, right? So which means that a lot of the homeowners who are booking people are booking them for maybe a week, maybe 3 days, maybe 4 days, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 7 days, maybe 3 days, maybe 2 days, right? And so what that means is, when if I'm looking to relocate a family, where if I'm a relocation specialist, or if I'm a family that's displaced, that's looking for availability for 2 consecutive months, I may not find many options because most people are booking people in these different time buckets, which means that if you look at a calendar of what's available, it's almost like when you look at your calendar and your time blocking, and you have all these blocks and you have all these scattered bookings. That's what happens for the host calendar, which means that if I'm coming in and I'm trying to look for a place for 3 months, any decent place, even a perfect place, that host can't host me because they're hosting others on several other weekends and can't host me consecutively, right? So that's the biggest gap in the marketplace and opportunity. So let's talk about this case study that came in, right? So I'll pull up the email right now, right? Get this. So this, I won't disclose her name to protect her, obviously her identity, but she reached out, subject line rental during reconstruction. Now I really want to break this down because there's a lot of gems to be captured from this, right? We got an email from this woman, and she says, hi, I found your listing on Airbnb and thought I would reach out here. So let's break this down for a second. How can she find our listing? How did she contact us via email if we're on Airbnb, right? She didn't leave an inquiry. She emailed us. Now, why? Well, I'll tell you why. She has some questions, and we made it easy for her because tip number one is we put our Airbnb on our Airbnb profile that we specialize in temporary housing. But the tip number two, so that's tip number one. So if you want to get into this space, it's really important that you tell the marketplace what it is that you're doing. So often we overlook and don't even tell our avatar avatar, aka the person that we're trying to serve, that we offer this service. And that's the lowest hanging fruit. It's so important for us to be able to let our customers know that we cater to them, right? The best form of marketing is literally telling your customer what you can do for them. That's the best form of marketing. Um, and sometimes we just don't even say it, because if you think about it, if I'm on Airbnb, the assumption would be that I cater to anybody and everybody. But if you're on Airbnb and then you have a special message that says, hey, by the way, we cater to temporary housing and flexible extensions, which is one of the other keywords that we'll cover, then you're literally letting them know that, hey, I might be a solution for you because I understand your problem. So we have to reverse engineer the problem. So we're going to talk through this. And I'm going to give tips for every problem. 5 problems, 5 tips for every problem that you can actually take action on. So this problem number 1 is, I found your listing on Airbnb and thought I would reach out here. So that's not a problem, but that's the tip number 1. Put in your Airbnb profile that you specialize in temporary housing. Number 2, I'm looking for a actually, I'll give you 2 tips in back to back. Tip number 2, our company name is stated within our Airbnb profile, so it makes it easier for potential guests to do a quick Google search and find our contact information and reach out to us. Because the thing is, on Airbnb, you can't just reach out to a host. You can do an inquiry, but you can't call me, you can't email me, because they want you to stay on the platform. So one of the things we do is we put our brand name out there. There's nothing wrong with it. We put our logo on there. We put our brand name on there. We've actually interchanged testing between faces and brand names. Both work, especially now that we expanded a vacation rental space. We did want to leverage some of our faces as well, because hosts sometimes or guests like to, they like to deal with faces, but they also don't mind dealing with companies. But faces in the vacation rental space works better. Corporation, no one likes big corp, right? there's you how often do you call a big corporation and be like, yep, I'm on a waiting line again, rather than calling my mom and pop shop and you're like, okay, there's actually people that understand me and I'm not treated like a number. So that's just a little caveat. Now I'll give you another tip. My gosh, all these tips back to back. Tip number 3, if you're going to use a profile picture, make sure it's consistent, or it is with an image that exists online in other profiles like a LinkedIn or like a Facebook or your website, so that people can see some congruency in your brand. Okay. So now more tips. He or she goes right into what she's looking for. It's really important that we understand what our clients are looking for. I'm looking for a place for my family and dog to stay while our home is worked on after water damage. Okay, so water damage. Those are some key words. Water damage means reconstruction. Reconstruction in water means, usually, if that happens to a primary residence, there's an insurance company involved, because you're going to file a claim, which means that now you're eligible for a loss of use, that relocation money. That tells me, ding ding, ka-ching, ka-ching, dollar signs are on the other side. They're not paying. Now, there's a few things I want to break down here. So let's talk about this, right? She says we live in blank. I'm not going to disclose location. And looks like you have a place that would be perfect. My problem is I didn't know the exact length of stay right now. What does that tell me? She stated her problem was that she didn't know the exact length of stay. So what's hard out there in these streets is that you have a traditional renter that tells you need a 12-month lease. Okay, great. That's not going to work. Then you have traditional renters out there that don't have furniture. That's not going to work either, because it's temporary housing. And so they're not going to uplift and take their furniture with them, right? So these are the problems in the marketplace that she's letting you know right now. She's letting us know. We're in this together, right? So she doesn't know the exact length of stay right now. And she says, I know we need to move out on the 18th, and we'll need to be out anywhere from a week and a half to 3 weeks. So the problem here is she could book on Airbnb, but like I just told you, if she books on Airbnb, and as an Airbnb host, I let someone book right after her, and she needs to extend for a couple more days because work takes longer, she might not be able to do that. Or what if things end up earlier? Does she lose out the money that she puts down because there's a cancellation fee and yours could be firm, and so therefore if I make an adjustment then I actually lose my money? There is a problem with not the lack of flexibility in the marketplace for these kind of people, right? One wants 12-month leases, right? Then the other wants to book online, but then the calendar doesn't look like it might be open after the date she might need, which means that she could stay at one place for 1 week and then have it not being available because someone might book after, which means that she's going to need to move and book elsewhere. Like, this is complete chaos, and in the chaos there is opportunity.
Experiment Nation, you've heard the word MTR, midterm rentals, as it is currently a hot topic and hot commodity right now because, again, there has been an increase in short-term rental regulations, and there also has been, let's face it, a slowdown in what we were experiencing a couple years back when it comes to bookings. So with that said, short-term rental operators are looking for alternative solutions to tap into the midterm rental space. However, there is a space, there is a sub niche of midterm rental insurance that I'm truly excited about, that I want to share with you, that the experience that we've had, the tremendous results we've been able to have, and that's the insurance midterm rental space, which is very different than your traditional midterm rentals. When you think of traditionally midterm rentals, you think of travel nurses. There is a space, midterm rental insurance space, that we've tapped in, where you need to be well connected with insurance and relocation specialists and companies and understand the right type of asset required for you to be able to help these families. What's really important that stands out the most, which you can get in what I'm about to offer you, is the understanding where to be found by these insurance companies, how to properly manage your calendar so that your listings are optimized so that they can find you, how to actually gain traction and build a relationship with these relocation insurance companies. I've put together an MTR insurance blueprint. That's MMT insurance blueprint to cover these foundations after we've had success landing very large contracts on single family homes that literally 4x what we traditionally make in long-term rentals, and also gives us peace of mind because there's less turnover and 100% occupancy, because these contracts can start anywhere from 30 days to 3 months to 8 months and range anywhere from, again, we've landed anywhere from $8,000 to $9,000 a month in per month on a single family home property, which our mortgages are typically around the 2,400 range, which then gives you a large spread of anywhere from 4 to 6K net on just one property. And this is why it's very hot right now. But people who haven't been in the lab with individuals like myself, like Jesse Vasquez and Dr. Rachel Gainsborough and Noble Crawford, don't have the foundations and don't know exactly where to start. And therefore, this is why I'm giving you guys a blueprint, the MTRR insurance blueprint. Go to the website experimentrealestate.com and get yourself a blueprint to completely change, or at least have a plan B if you're a short-term rental operator looking to maximize your occupancy and profitability. We'll see you on the other side.
Okay, so now she's saying, so if you're following, she also said that she had a family of was it in here? Yeah, my family and dog. So I spoke with her after. She confirmed that it's 4 kids, herself, that's 5, and a dog. Where's the challenge here? Well, a lot of folks are getting 3-bedroom homes, 2-2s. Some furnished finder folks are doing the 1-1s, the 2-2s, etc. I like the 4-bedroom plus, even 5 bedrooms, because families like these need spaces, and there's not that much inventory with space. As a matter of fact, Furnished Finder had done a research that there is a surge in demand for larger homes, and that's why we love larger homes, because more people available, more space needed, is also means that typically the home value of where they're coming from is larger than obviously a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom home, which means that there's going to be more ALE. ALE stands for additional living expense, which is also what is shown on the policy holder, the displaced homeowner, right? who is also a policyholder on their insurance, which means that the budget will be larger for relocation. If the budget is larger for the relocation, it means we put more dollars in our pocket for solving the exact same problem that you would for a 1-bedroom home, except now we have 4. That way we get paid much larger. Now you might say it's all proportionate, and it's not. The proportionates get real disproportional as you start to make a lot more money with a 4-bedroom home, right? So when you're thinking of what you're going to buy next, when you're thinking of what you're going to co-host, when you're thinking of what you're going to manage, when you go bigger, you get bigger results. And that's why we like that, because we're solving a bigger problem that impacts more people, and people are important, and so are their dogs. Do not sleep. A lot of people eliminate themselves from being available by not being pet friendly, and it crushes them, right? So I find that fascinating. Number 3, she needed a specific area for her kids' school zones. This is after speaking with her. So keep in mind, I wouldn't even be in touch with her if we didn't have her name, our brand name, and a profile. She wouldn't have been able to look us up. She wouldn't have been able to look us up online. She wouldn't have been able to pull up our website. All of our contact information is online on Google, on our website, etc. So you can look us up, and we're easy to find. We're searchable. Again, number 1 mistake people make, they're not clear on what problem they can solve for their clients, so they don't speak the language and say, hey, this is what we can do. Hey, we offer flexible stays. That's literally the problem that she's talking about. Regurgitate the problem as a solution on your website copy. Number 2, it's making it easy for someone to do business with you. I can't tell you how many opportunities we miss by making things complex. Some companies, I'm ready. I have my credit card in hand. I want to give them my money, and I can't either make a payment online. I can't reach someone to do business with them. I'm like, I can't believe that I'm ready to pay, and they've made it so difficult for me to do business with them. Do not make it difficult for your team, for your business to be found online. Do not make it difficult for them to reach out to you. Put yourself out there so that people can come to you. And most importantly is that's going to start with availability, right? So she had already been cut a check by the insurance company. That's problem number 4. So let me just restate that. Number 1, she stated her problem that she didn't know the exact length of stay. That's her problem number 1, right? And her family was seeking for flexible dates. Number 2, she had a family of 5 with a dog. Pet friendly. There's not enough pet friendly homes, which is actually my number 5 point, but I'm including it here. Number 2 is that she had a family of 5 with a dog, aka less options for spacious homes. Number 3, she needed to be in a specific area for her kids' school. Number 4, she had already been cut a check by the insurance company, and now she was searching on her own, right? And when she's searching on her own, she goes to Airbnb because it's the only place that she knows. And when she goes on Airbnb, it is literally a shit show, right? Because literally there's not, and excuse my French, parce que, no, I'm just kidding, but it's literally a challenge for her because she now has to go through the process of trying to find a listing that's going to have those flexible dates available for her. And for that reason is the reason why she reached out, right? Just to see before she even tried to book with us, if because we provided temporary housing, we spoke her language, she then reached out because we literally say we provide flexible extensions and do temporary housing, right? It's not, and I don't mean that it's not rocket science. It's actually people make life harder when it comes to doing business. So this is what I want to highlight, these key things. And so the last one is she struggled to find pet friendly options, right? Like that to me is the craziest thing because in our space, we're in the business to serve in hospitality. And we are also stubborn. Oh, we don't want to be pet friendly. Okay, well, just do the math, right? Like try right now, go into type your city name or very specific city name, type in the properties on Airbnb and see what's available. Do it on Furnish Finder, do it anywhere, and look for homes that look for an area, right? Pick a specific date, and you'll see you'll be looking for, let's say, 2 weeks to stay or a month to stay, or do actually 2 months, right? Because this is exactly what we're talking about, and then see how many homes are available. Then toggle on pet friendly, and then see what that number is. Usually, that number is a half. like literally gets sliced in half. So if there was 10, there'd be 5. If there was 100, there'd be 50. I'm telling you, I've done this in almost every market. It's unbelievable how often we do not want to be pet friendly and serve a problem and pay, to get paid a premium, right, to solve this problem, right? So here are the tips in order based on the problems I stated, right? So if you look at, you put ourselves on the Airbnb profile, and there's number 1. Tip number 2, we put our company name, right? Tip number 3, we always go for bigger homes, 4 to 5 bedrooms to 6, right? Go for bigger, right? And now it doesn't mean all of our homes are that big. It just means that if we have an option, we go for bigger. Number 4, become pet friendly. You want to double your chances of landing these kind of contracts. And number 5, be on all platforms. One of the things that she had said to me that really stuck out at me and is so critical, and it's a common topic where people say, where should I go? Where should I list my properties to be, to get on top of these contracts, to get these contracts? Where should I go? Where should I list? The answer is everywhere. And here's why, right? She had been cut a check, right? And it's almost sad because she had been given a check by the insurance company who said, go find something. And she's going based on what she knows. She's like, let me start with the Airbnb. And when I asked her, where else have you looked? She said, nowhere else, just Airbnb. Now, the reason this is important is because if you said, well, I don't want to do Airbnb, and you just went on Furnish Finder because you're like, Airbnb is not for me, it means you'd miss out on this business opportunity that was not a short-term rental, right? Because some people say, I don't want to go on Airbnb. I don't want to deal with these high turnovers. Well, what if you went on Airbnb and turned on your listing to 30-day minimum, and then you put in flexible extensions? But that in itself would also be missing the point. What if you just put it a 7-day minimum to capture more leads, and then also said flexible extensions? Then you would have captured that lead. Now, if you would have been 30 days, you maybe would have missed out on her because she said she's anywhere from 3 weeks and might need longer. So it's interesting because I think that we often miss the point of how we should cater to the marketplace. We cater to the marketplace based on their need and demand. If you're saying, oh, well, I don't want to be pet friendly, that's fine, by the way. If you're doing this for yourself, if you're in the business of serving and providing a quality product, and an option and an opportunity for someone in the marketplace to then be able to benefit it, aka that's what a client is, that's what a guest is, that's what a potential short-term tenant is or midterm rental tenant is, then you're going to optimize for these things that I'm talking about. And if you're just doing it for yourself or as a hobby, or it doesn't really matter that much to you, or because your personal preferences, which I say that all with respect, if your personal preference is that I made this investment, it's yours, and I'm not going to allow pets on your property, that's fine, right? That is your decision. Ultimately, it is your decision, but it is a decision that is costing you money. And that's the beauty of being a business owner, is like, I think it's in your best interest to know these things, that yes, this is costing me money and I'm choosing not to do it so because of personal reasons. Now, if you're in the business of maximizing profits, obviously we all have our standards, but understand that every decision that you make has an impact and a reaction to it, right? Or at least some form of outcome based on the decision that we make. So that's why I share this. You can make a decision not be on Airbnb because you don't like Airbnb, but then you're missing out on inquiries like this. Because when I asked her, are you on Furnish Finder? Did you look on Furnish Finder? Excuse me. She said, I've never heard of that. Boom. And I want to really bring this point home, right? Because every situation is different and every person who's looking for a solution operates differently. You and I included, right? You might be operating your business very differently right now. And I'm just trying to show you a silver or a sliver of how it works in our world, how it works in my world, how we optimize. Right? You might be optimizing different. And so the goal is to take elements that you can implement from other people and share. And so the reason I say all this is that a relocation specialist or family that's been displaced looks for housing very differently. They don't all do the same thing. That's why when people ask me where I should go, where I should list, I say everywhere. Why? Because a relocation specialist, which is someone who is actually working on behalf of the relocation agency, and the relocation agencies work on behalf of the insurance companies, because the insurance companies do not have the time to reach out to mom and pop owners like ourselves, like you and I, right? It doesn't matter if you have a dozen properties or three or four or five, they will work with a relocation specialist, no different than a headhunter would work on behalf of Google and find them the best employees in the world, or Facebook. Google may or may not have an in-house team. They work with a company and a firm that does this for a living, right? And so the insurance companies do the same. So they'll work with relocation agencies. You've heard of them, right? Like the CRS, the ALE Solutions. You've heard of them, right? And these the relocation agencies, when I speak to these relocation specialists on a weekly, if not monthly basis, right? And when I ask them where they look, the answer always changes, which tells me one thing, that even in the same company, there is a different approach to how they choose to do to problem solve for their displaced policy owners. Some might go to Airbnb, some might go to Furnish Finder, some might go to Zillow Rental Manager, some might look in their database, some might call AKA those they've made relationships with. And I'm pointing to myself because that's what we really focus on, is building direct relationships, so that I want them to reach out to me first. You want them to reach out to you first, but there is a way to be found on all platforms, because you might have a newbie, or you might have someone who's seasoned, or you might have, doesn't matter, anyone within the company is going to do their search differently, just like any homeowner would do their search differently. There's another homeowner out there that would have started with Furnished Finder, and then there's another homeowner out there that would have started with Zillow Rental Manager. And those are just limited. It does not stop there. There's some that would have looked with another third party agency, and your job is to be found everywhere. Some would go directly to my site, someone email me, someone call me, someone we've done it all. Okay. So it's really important that you master and understand that it is important for you to be omnipresent on all platforms. This case study shows just that. I've shared with you the tips, and I want to recap them because it's really important. And there's many more tips that have helped our community. I love the fact that we can be in that I have a mastermind group that I've created, where just this past month alone, collectively, we've brought in over. I don't even. I can't even put a number on this, but I'll give you a few case studies. Actually, we recently had Gabby. In the span of 3 weeks, landed $26,000 worth of bookings from temporary housing. Iris recently closed on a 9,240 contract for the next 3 months. Andy, who recently just joined my mastermind, within 2 weeks had 8,155 a month. Keep in mind, guys, these properties, these overheads, these mortgages are just about $2,000. We recently just got an extension on what was a collective $23,000 a month booking on a 2,200 mortgage home. Again, 4 bedroom, 3 bath. And the month before that was 9,000, and then they extended for another week for 2,000. So all in on that home, we're over $30,000 within the span of 45 days on a mortgage that cost $2,000. And I'm sharing with you these insights because I find it fascinating that we live in a world where there are multiple ways to do things, and the only thing that's preventing us from doing something one way or the other is the knowledge. And I think there's never been a day in time where we're in a better position to just receive all these insights and information, and have our seeds that we can plant in our backyard for them to grow. Because the power of social media, the power of podcasting. You might be listening to this somewhere across the nation and somewhere else in the world. We didn't have this kind of access before. This industry has been around for hundreds of years. Temporary housing. I've looked deep into this stuff. I'm like, how long these companies been around? Like, why have I not known this? It's just a matter of what I just said, not knowing how to implement and not knowing how that this exists and therefore not going for it. I mean, you mean to tell me there's people out there who are just, you know, just okay with just making a couple $100 a month with all the hard work they put in on their properties? It's because they don't know any better, right? Just like, we've had short-term rental operators in there, we have midterm rental, we have temporary housing. There's so many things out there that exist, that this is why I love what I do, to interview others, to learn from them, and then be able to come on a platform like this and share the insights, and then of course share our own experiments, our own wins. And that's what I'm really proud of, that I get to be in the forefront in the marketplace, boots on the ground, uh, actively doing deals myself, helping others in my community do the same, and then get a chance to educate. So, if this is you, you're listening to this. It's I share these tips to plant a seed, and that there is an opportunity out there, and there are multiple opportunities in the marketplace. And the difference between you taking advantage of them and not is just the knowledge gap, right? So if you're actually interested in learning more, there's so many episodes that I've recorded on this topic. But B, I also have a mastermind group that you can join and be a part of. And I would say if you're interested in being a part of it, you can, go online. There is an application where you can go experimentrealestate.com/submit so that you can see if you're a good fit. We do have multiple people we work with across the nation. This works in every market. There's a demand and need in every market. You're just probably not getting any because you're not optimized for it. And that's change and optimization can completely change the outcome and trajectory of your entire portfolio, whether it's one property or you have just a few. And you do not need that many when you're doing the kind of numbers we're doing and you're serving the kind of families we're serving, because you're serving a very specific problem, and there's always riches in the niches, right? So just a quick recap on the tips, right? Tip number one, you want to put your Airbnb profile on specialized, that you specialize and serve a specific marketplace. Your company name's got to be in there. That was tip number two. Tip number three, you want to buy, manage, co-host larger homes. Larger homes equals larger problem solving. Tip number four, you want to be pet friendly. You have to be pet friendly. You must, if you're trying to get more volume and inquiries. And tip number five, just be on all platforms. And that's in essence the reason why I recorded this, is have midterm rental omnipresence to cast a large net and serve a bigger problem, because people solve their problems very differently. And you want to make sure you are on every platform to be able to serve the demand and be the supply to the demand. All right. With that said, experimentation, just like that. Again, another one in the books. Make sure you stay tuned. If you're getting any value from this, share it with someone that you love, share it with someone that you care for, share it with a business partner. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube, and hit the follow button if you're on Spotify. I saw some comments the other day on Spotify, speaking of platforms ever changing, we are on every platform anywhere. So just type in the real estate experiment. But make sure you just drop us a comment, show some love, hit the subscribe button, and also, share it with your peers. That's the most important. And give us a follow on Spotify. I don't know, is this still on Apple iTunes? It is, but I'm asking, I don't even know. I think that's where you leave reviews on Apple. Make sure you do that. That lets other people, new people who have never listened to the show, helps us get discovered more. And that's my mission. I want to help empower as many homeowners to know these seeds that were planted in my backyard that now I benefit from, and now I'm pouring from a place and trying to water that plant and help others in their backyard have their plants flourish as well. All right. So with that said, experimentation, thank you so much. And just like that, we got another one in the books, y'all. Let's build.
Experimentation podcasting has changed the way we operate as real estate investors ourselves, and it can do the same for you. Podcasting has been the source of the master classes that we get thanks to the world-class real estate investors and practitioners and specialists that come into the lab from all realms, from short-term rentals to midterm rentals to real estate syndications to even software as a service owners, founders, entrepreneurs. have helped enrich our experiments by giving us the education, helping us build a network, and lastly, and most importantly, a brand association to open up multiple doors for our respective businesses. If you understand the power that podcasting can have and you know that you need one for your brand, please, you can rely on our team. Investedtalent.com is my team and the team that helps this podcast, the Real Estate Experiment, become the fruition each and every single week to educate my community, build relationships on the air, and continue to build our brand. If you know that you need to do these same for your brand and you haven't pulled the trigger yet, maybe because you don't know how, our company, investedtalent.com, does the end to end from the time that you record, from the time that it is published, to even repurposing content on multiple social media platforms. That's what my team can do for you. Simply go to investedtalent.com and book a discovery call to see how my team can help you launch your podcast.